It's time. Time to pick every spread and every total for the NFL Divisional Round. Welcome, football fans, iron gamblers, and all of my degenerates. It's Mitch here, and it's time to make some money. In this video, I break down every divisional round matchup, and I give you my pick for every spread and every over-under in the second round of the 2026 NFL playoffs. We're hot right now. We're looking to continue to steamroll our way to the Super Bowl. If you're ready for some money-making picks on Money Mitch, then Gronk, spike the like button. I'm gonna wait. Do it, jabroni. 3, 2, do it. 1. Subscribe to the channel, man. Get in the comments and let me know your picks for the week. And as always, you can get my picks, my bets that I make with my real YouTube money on Patreon. Check that out. Link in the description. Only $5. $5 tier, guys. Gets you all of my bets for divisional round, the conference championships, the Super Bowl, where I must be betting like a million different things. So make sure to check that out. And if you just want to support my journey as a creator, you can do that on Patreon as well. Now, it's time to break down the divisional round, beginning with the first game, and that is the Buffalo Bills and the Denver Broncos. The total is sitting at 46. The spread has been up and down and all around. It began with Buffalo favored -1, 1.5. Now it's flipped through the 0 to Denver -1.5, -1. It keeps kind of going up and down. At the moment, I see it as -1 Denver. And personally, I think that only really has to do with the fact that Denver is at home. Denver had a bye, and Denver had the health and rest advantage. But really, when you look into this game, I feel pretty confident about the Buffalo Bills. I like Buffalo in this matchup, and this has been a matchup that I've been waiting to circle and waiting to bet before the playoffs. I mean, I broke it down on the Bottom Line View. If you guys are unaware, you're living under a rock. Yeah, I have another channel. It's an NFL channel that I've made videos on for about 10 years. It's called the Bottom Line View, and I talked about the playoff matchups, the Broncos, and what their worst matchup would be. And to me, I think it might be this Bills team. And there's 2 reasons why, okay? The first of which is the defense of Sean McDermott, I think actually matches up pretty damn well with the Denver Broncos. Denver is not a great running football team. They're okay. They're 15th in yards per attempt. I think they're a little bit better in numbers like EPA and success rate. If you were to look at it, let's just go with weeks 10 through 18. I actually have no idea where they're going to rank here, but I'm going to look it up for you guys. I think they're around the 10 through 12 range. They're not exactly a dangerous rushing offense. So Denver, EPA running the football. Holy. They're 25th? No way. 26th in rush EPA since week 10 offensively. Is that real? I thought they would be higher than that, guys. They're 9th in success rate, so they're at least solid in success rate, but EPA-wise, they're not very effective, so I think that only furthers the argument here. I didn't even know that was going to be the case, but guys, yeah, the Buffalo Bills are bad at stopping the run. They're like 31st against the run in the league in a variety of metrics. They're 30th, they're 31st, they're one of the worst. You guys know how it is. But the Denver Broncos are not the Baltimore Ravens. The Denver Broncos don't have a run game like the Patriots. I don't see how the Denver Broncos are just going to run their way to victory or possess their way to victory. The Buffalo Bills pass defense is a real problem for Denver because Bo Nix struggles against zone. Bo Nix struggles against too high. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in football in EPA against too high structures. Buffalo is very elaborate and complex with their variety of coverages, right? They do things where oh, it's cover 2 man, but it's really palms on one side or it's quarters on one side. And that's a cover 4 variant with match coverage principles, guys, if you don't know this football jargon. But so they have a lot of variety. Like they play cover, they'll play cover 2, they'll play cover 4, they'll play man, they'll play cover 3. Like they do it all. So to me, and they confuse you with their safety rotations, with their rules, and they have specific rules for specific offenses and specific matchups. And that's why they are first in the NFL in yards per game allowed. I know that a lot of people say it's because you can run on them, but let's be honest, not everyone can run on Buffalo. Just like a few teams this year have been able to run on Buffalo. I do think that their pass defense is real. I think we saw that last week against Trevor Lawrence. I mean, there wasn't a hotter quarterback in the NFL than Trevor Lawrence. And he threw not 1, but 2 interceptions at the beginning of the game, at the end of the game, because he was confused. He didn't understand the rules of the secondary. He didn't understand what they were doing. I thought Drake May kind of struggled in the second half against Buffalo in that second matchup a little bit. And Drake May hasn't really struggled against anybody, to be honest, right? Like the closest he's come was maybe last week against the Chargers. He still put up 270 yards. Like this Buffalo team, this pass defense doesn't allow a lot of yards. They don't allow a lot of explosives in the pass game. And they're going to have to be very patient. Bo Nix is going to have to make the right reads. If he doesn't, he might throw into traffic. He might throw into coverage. When you're thinking about this overall defense, right? Like their weaker links early in the year, like their linebacker spot. Well, Shaq Thompson's played really, really well, stepping up for Bernard, who honestly hasn't played all that well when he's been healthy. They've got Thompson and Milano playing at a high level in the middle of the field against the pass. They have Tre'Davious White, who is kind of not playing well early in the year, playing really well at that cornerback 2 spot. We already know what Christian Benford can do, probably shadowing Cortland Sutton a little bit in this game, size on size matchup there for Buffalo. And then Teron Johnson is a really good player in the run and the pass game for Buffalo at that nickel spot. Cole Bishop has really come into his own at safety. Jordan Poyer will be out, and Hairston, their first-round pick, will be out, so they are missing a bit of depth. But they do have pretty good overall. Like, I'm not worried about Ingram, who likely will get the start for Poyer at that other safety position. He's a really good tackler, and I think specifically for what the Broncos like to do, they like to throw a lot of quick throws, a lot of quick swing passes, screen passes, get the ball underneath, dink and dunk, and I don't think that's going to be very effective against Buffalo. I think they're going to have answers for flowing to the football, taking that away, and limiting the yards after catch because of how well Matt Milano and Shaq Thompson are playing at linebacker and how they're seeing the field, and then how a guy like Cole Bishop is tackling, Teron Johnson is tackling. So whoever they put there, whether it be Cam Lewis, I think I said Ingram, I meant Cam Lewis, whether it be Cam Lewis, whether it be somebody else, I don't exactly know, but I think that I trust Sean McDermott. I just really like how Sean McDermott has been formulating his pass coverages lately, and I think that's going to confuse Bo Nix in this game. And I don't think they're just going to be able to run the ball. I really don't. So I think that side of the ball, Buffalo is going to be able to dictate. And then on the other side of the ball, I think the most underrated aspect of this matchup is Buffalo's ability to run the ball on Denver. Now, Denver does have good season-long statistics when we're looking at rush defense. But if we looked at last year's wild card matchup, for where pretty much the personnel is exactly the same for the Denver Broncos, they do have Dre Greenlaw now. They do have Hufanga now. They've added a couple elements to this defense that I think has specifically helped them in pass defense. But if you actually look at, first of all, that game last year in the wild card, 44 rushing attempts for over 200 yards for the Buffalo Bills. Denver has not played a lot of good running teams this year. Think about it for a second. They've played 6 games against their division foes. Chargers, Raiders, and Chiefs. None of them can run the ball, period, right? They played the Packers as one of the NFC teams they played who have been struggling down the stretch to run the ball because of offensive line injuries. Josh Jacobs hasn't been the same player. They played Jacksonville, who actually is like a bottom 5 rushing attack this season, although, I wouldn't say they are. Statistically, they are, but Jacksonville did beat them for what it's worth. They played the NFC East. So you're talking about the Cowboys are a mediocre rushing attack. They played the Giants, who are a pretty good rushing attack. They lost that game. They played the Commanders, pretty good rushing attack. They nearly lost that game. See a little bit of a pattern here developing. The Texans don't really run the ball very well. They played the AFC South, the Titans at the beginning of the year with Cam Ward at quarterback, not a very good rushing football team. They played the Bengals without Joe Burrow. At that point, especially, not a very good rushing football team. And they fell behind. The Colts actually ran the ball extremely well. What happened in that game? They lost, okay? So you look at some of the games that they got ran on by good rushing football teams. They played the Eagles. The Eagles have been bad running the ball kind of all season, contrary to popular belief. We broke that down last week. So again, guys, you look at their schedule from a run defense perspective. Who have they played that is a good rushing offense? Who have they played? I'm going to look at the EPA. Who have they played? Washington, New York, those teams are, I'll just go over it right now. So rushing EPA-wise, they played the Colts, who were number 1. They lost, okay? Other than that, they played Cincinnati, who ended the season strong. But again, that was without Joe Burrow, so I'm just going to throw that game out. Dallas, who was 8th. Now, Dallas, the bigger problem there, Dallas has a terrible defense. But Dallas still managed to score over 20 points. The Giants and the Commanders, 11th and 12th. And the Eagles, 13th. So the Eagles game was a 1-score game. The Eagles, I don't even think are that good, but this is just rush EPA. The Giants and the Commanders, they lost to the Giants. They barely beat the Commanders, which they probably could have lost. The Chiefs were somehow 14th, which I'm not sure that's accurate. But I look at the schedule and it's like they didn't play. The Buffalo Bills are second. The Buffalo Bills are second in EPA. The Buffalo Bills are second in success rate running the football. This is the best rushing offense they've played by far, in my opinion, since the early season Colts, when they had a Jonathan Taylor, Daniel Jones, and their offensive line. And they lost that game. So, and then you look at the Bills. They have a massive size advantage up front. So I do think the Bills are going to be able to dictate this game through time of possession. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. I think they're going to be able to control the clock. I think they're going to be able to stop the short passing game of the Denver Broncos. I think they're going to do well enough against the run. And there's going to be plays where Denver does hit an explosive running the ball, but then there's going to be another play where they go negative in the backfield because that's how Buffalo sells out to stop the run, right? They'd prefer you to try to run the ball. That's kind of their strategy. But I don't think they're going to allow any explosives. They're going to make Bo Nix earn everything. I don't think he's going to be seeing the field very well against McDermott's secondary. And I do think the Bills are going to have balance. I do think the Bills are going to run the ball. They do have an offensive line that can protect Josh Allen against a very good pass rush, which is 5th all-time in sacks for the Denver Broncos. Respect there. But also you look at Denver, bottom 10 against tight ends. This is another matchup where the Bills could target their tight ends in the middle of the field. Specifically, if they are running the ball off of jumbo or heavy formations, they're going to be able to hit some plays over the middle. And then I think there's going to be enough offense from Josh Allen running the ball, from Josh Allen hitting Khalil Shakir on bubble screens and swing passes. Josh was in such control. Josh played such a mature, efficient game against Jacksonville. I think that he is the best, right, most reliable quarterback, best quarterback in the playoffs, best quarterback remaining, and I trust him in this game. I think that he is far better than Bo Nix. I trust the Bills' experience. I trust their pass defense. I trust Sean McDermott to have a good plan, and I think that Denver's defense has been regressing down the stretch. I think there's enough tape out there against Washington, Green Bay, and Jacksonville to suggest that. I think they've been beating up on bad teams, and I don't view them the same way as I view the Patriots, who also played kind of a weaker schedule, because New England, to me, has a better quarterback, a much better quarterback. So the Buffalo Bills, I think they run the ball. I think they control the game. It won't be pretty, probably. The pass coverage certainly favors Denver's secondary. They should be able to man up the Bills' receivers. But I think that when you man up against Josh Allen, you got to be careful about him moving. You also got to be careful, I think, a little bit about these tight ends. And I think even James Cook schemed up touches in the pass game. I think the Bills can get enough of offense here. I think they actually win this because their defense performs really well. So give me the Buffalo Bills on the road, +1. I also would lean under because I think both teams will be trying to run the football. Both teams are going to be leaning on the defense. Both teams are going to be trying to go on long drives. And I think the Bills are going to look at this as, let's, run the football. Let's go. Let's have long possessions. Let's wear this defense down. And then eventually in the second half, we'll be able to hit some explosives down the field when they're tired. I think on the other side, the Denver Broncos offense knows that they're going to have to go 5 yards at a time. They're going to have to run the football. They're going to have to throw short because Buffalo does not give up downfield passes. I don't think Sean Payton's going to trust Bo Nix to take shots down the field against these coverages. So I think the under 46 is a good play. I also like the Bills here as the dog. The next game is going to be the San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle is laying 7. The total is 45. I don't understand why this spread is 7 because the San Francisco 49ers, let's just put it this way, played the absolute worst game they could possibly play, and they only lost by 10 to Seattle, and they were a tipped pass off the hands of Christian McCaffrey to making that a field goal game, which came down to the absolute wire. Brock Purdy was going to get the ball back after a missed field goal by Myers for a chance to tie if McCaffrey doesn't drop that ball in the lap of Seattle. So it would have been a field goal game. The first game in Seattle was a 4-point win by the 49ers, and it should have been a bigger win by the 49ers. In fact, if you look back at the stats, the box score, and watch the tape. So bottom line is Seattle has only scored 13 points in both games against the Niners. And although they totally dominated the Niners physically, up front on defense, up front on offense, they only won 13-10. So you're giving me 7 points with the best coaching staff in the league, with a coach in Kyle Shanahan who's never lost in the divisional round. He's never lost in the wild card round. He's never lost in the divisional round. He is 7-0. 7-0. He's won 3 times straight up as an underdog, guys. Kyle Shanahan is different in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. So this is a team that nobody thinks is going to win. And this is the team that I think as the dog actually might have the best chance of winning. And that is the San Francisco 49ers because this is the third matchup against their rival. They played as bad as they possibly could in Week 18, and the game was still competitive. It was still close. And they are getting reinforcements. Okay, D. Winters is likely to be back at linebacker after last week. He'll at least help the depth. Fred Warner is out, unfortunately. I thought there was a chance he could play, but they are getting offensive weapons back. Trent Williams didn't play in Week 18. It's a big reason why they couldn't block Seattle. Trent Williams is as important as any player not named Brock Purdy. Actually, he might be more important than Brock Purdy, given how well Mac Jones played. He might be the most valuable player on the team, maybe outside of McCaffrey. Like, he is really, really, really awesome. And then Ricky Pearsall, who had over 100 yards in Week 1 against Seattle, is a weapon, a field stretcher that they didn't have last time against Seattle. And this is going to generate them more offense. Trent Williams is going to buy Brock Purdy more time for explosive plays. He's going to open up more rushing lanes for Christian McCaffrey. And Ricky Pearsall is another one of these guys that can target, I think, Reek Woolen or Josh Jobe on the perimeter and win those individual matchups, which they couldn't do in Week 18. And yes, George Kittle is out. But George Kittle didn't have much impact in Week 18. And honestly, he didn't have much impact against the Eagles either. I don't think he was 100%. And Jake Tonjes is a damn good backup tight end. So I do think he'll be able to make some plays. I actually think the Niners have a real chance of winning this game. Should I pick the Niners here? I mean, I do think they're the least or the less talented team. I do think the Seahawks hold the line of scrimmage advantage. But there's so many variables from the standpoint of McDonald and Kubiak near had a perfect game plan against the Niners in the second game in Week 18, right? It was nearly perfect. Like, what could they possibly do any better? And this game reminds me, as a Patriots fan, a lot of that 2010 Jets-Patriots, where the Patriots at home on Monday Night Football, I think they beat the Jets like 45-3 or something insane. Then they played in the divisional round and no one thought the Jets were going to win. But it was like a rivalry and like a tight game usually every time except for that one lone outlier. And New England lost that game at home as a huge favorite. And it reminds me of that where, like, you're just not going to get physically manhandled. You're not going to get pushed over. And the other team has every single benefit of re-game planning for you. Because now you've shown your cards. Like, now, okay, San Francisco knows, Seattle's just going to lay back, take away the explosive plays. They're going to play light box defense. They're going to force you to run the ball and force you to throw it underneath. You don't think that Kyle Shanahan has been like finding 1,000 ways to throw the ball for 5 yards a time? Like, and now that he has Ricky Pearsall, he has another guy that he can work some shot plays with and work some one-on-one matchups with. And Demarcus Robinson's coming off his best game of the year. And Trent Williams is back to provide that extra time and that leverage in terms of pass protection where they can shift the line, they can double team certain guys. And Brock Purdy, I think Christian McCaffrey, he's going to be a big element underneath. The Seattle allows the most catches in the league to the running back position. I think that Brock Purdy can move a little bit to create a couple of big plays. And I think the Niners are just going to hang in this game because I don't think offensively Seattle right now is very good. Since week 10, they're like 19th in the league in EPA. I wrote down the notes here. They have not been playing very well offensively, especially in the red zone. Sam Darnold has not been putting up points in the red zone. 19th in EPA since week 10, 21st since week 13. In the first half since week 10, they're 22nd. And again, they only scored 13 points in both games against the Niners. And now Robert Saleh has better linebackers. I think Eric Kendricks really helps them get situated. He really played well against the Eagles, I thought. I think there's going to be adjustments to how they defend JSN with Lenore. I love the way how Upton Stout is playing. I love the way that Siegel played in place of Jair Brown tackling. I think the Niners defense is going to tackle much better in this game than they did in week 18. I think they're going to play much better against the run because now they've seen Kubiak and what he's going to do to them in terms of the misdirection and the cutback lanes and all that sort of stuff. Don't get me wrong. Seattle should still find success running the ball. JSN is going to still make plays. But guys, if we're looking at it right now, it's like, I don't think the Seahawks are going to simply run away with this game. I don't. I think the Niners are going to be better prepared on both sides of the ball. I think that Purdy is the better quarterback. I think that Kyle has proven to be a very good playoff coach, and especially in these first 2 rounds, he is hot. There's no coach coaching better, and despite Mike McDonald out-coaching him in that week 18, I still feel like if this game early on where Seattle struggled offensively goes in the tide or turns the way that San Francisco's way, and they maybe pick that fumble up that Seattle had in week 18, this game could be like San Francisco wins by a field goal. So I love getting 7 here with the 49ers. I also like the under because I think Seattle's defense is 1B to the Texans 1A in this league. I think they are phenomenal in terms of I don't think the Niners will be able to run the ball all that well. I think this will be heavy on Brock Purdy to throw the football, 1,000 paper cut style. But again, I do believe that Trent Williams and Ricky Pearsall being back really does help them do that and make this game more competitive and allow the Niners to control the ball better, move the ball better, and score more points. I also think that Saleh's defense will be better prepared from what they saw in week 18, so they'll keep their end of the bargain as well. But at the same time, Sam Darnold's hurt. He has an oblique injury. He's kind of questionable going into the game. I think he'll be fine, and I think he'll be good to go, but that is a little bit of concern that your quarterback is hurt. Charles Cross will be back for Seattle, which certainly helps their pass protection, but it's not like the Niners get after the quarterback anyways. Guys, I just kind of think that this is the 3rd time these teams have played. It's a division rivalry. They're very familiar with each other. Both games were extremely defensive. Both games were low scoring. Last game, 16 points. The game previous, 30 points. You're asking these teams to put up 46? I don't see how that happens because I don't see how Seattle explodes all over San Francisco like some people believe that's going to happen. I just don't see it because I don't think Seattle's offense is really that good. As they've shown over the last back half of the season, they're 19th in the league. They're 19th in the league. They're 21st since week 13. Maybe Seattle scores 31 and this goes over, but I highly doubt it. I think neither of these teams get to 24. I think this game at the most is a 23-21, 23-20. I think probable it's more like 20-17, 17-16, 17-14. I don't think this is going to be a very high scoring game. I think this is going to be a lot of field position. I think there's going to be some explosives on either side, but I think there's going to be a lot of punts. And I think that there's going to be a lot of failure in the red zone probably as well. And it will come down to who turns the ball over at quarterback, who protects the football and which coach can scheme up a couple plays. So I think the Niners can win. I will take Seattle outright, but I don't know about it. This screams upset to me, but I do feel like the Niners will cover, and I do think this will be an under. I really like both of those plays. Next, the New England Patriots at home, -3. The total is 40.5. I like the Patriots here. I also think that the under almost makes too much sense to where it scares me. And these are two really good defenses. I think New England kind of proved where they're at defensively at this point. And I've kind of always been saying that New England has been underperforming defensively, despite finishing the season as a top 10 defense in almost every metric known to man. Points against, yards allowed, EPA. They were the 11th EPA defense, right? Like, they were a good defense all year, a really good rushing defense. It's just that they haven't really seen a lot of elite quarterbacks. But to me, they were kind of underwhelming from the standpoint of they allowed you to kind of move the ball a little bit. That being said, they've allowed the least amount of red zone trips in the NFL. So that's something that CJ Stroud's going to have to deal with. Some of that has to do with the competition. But New England showed us they can dominate a game defensively. And I think that came at the perfect time because I think they're going to be able to do that again. You look at the Texans offense, 22nd in total EPA, 17th in passing EPA, 21st in points per drive. They're 30th in pass blocking in terms of win rate. They're last in run blocking win rate. Fundamentals. I don't think the Texans will be able to run the ball in this game because the Patriots with Milton Williams and Robert Spillane are just a dominant run defense. The Chargers didn't even dare do it. When they did, they couldn't get 2 yards. Like, it was not very successful at all. And that also makes the Patriots, better in the red zone, better in short yardage, better on fourth down. When you can't run the ball, it makes a yard really difficult to gain, right? And that's where the Patriots could gain an advantage on fourth downs, 3rd and 1. They can get a stuff, red zone. They can force a field goal. So that's going to keep the score low. That's also going to help the Patriots win. You also complement that with no Nico Collins. He's very likely to be out with a concussion. With Nico Collins out, well, now Gonzalez doesn't have to shadow him all game. That's only going to shift the matchups in the coverage even more towards the Patriots. And the Patriots will probably feel better about playing more and more man coverage and sending more and more zero blitzes. That's important to understand because CJ Stroud sucks against pressure. He's 28th of 29 qualified quarterbacks against cover zero. So cover zero is when a defense sends 6 or more players at the quarterback and plays man-to-man on the outside. And with Gonzalez not having to cover Collins or that threat of Nico's speed and danger down the field, well, who are you covering? Like, he can take on Jaden Higgins, Carlton Davis can lock up Hutchinson, and Marcus Jones will be all over Christian Kirk. Like, the Patriots clearly have a secondary advantage here. The only real threat that the Texans have is Dalton Schultz because the Patriots are below average against tight ends, but he's not very explosive, so you're not worried about him beating you over the top. So New England's going to send zero blitz after zero blitz after zero blitz because the Texans will not be able to run the football at all, and that's going to get them sacks, turnovers, short fields, and that's going to aid their offense to success against a very good Texans defense. I also believe that the Patriots have the special teams edge. The Patriots have a very good return team. The Texans have been had in the return game a little bit this year where some of the games they've given up more points. You look at Jacksonville, for example. They've given up some punt returns. Marcus Jones is excellent as a punt returner. And then you look at, okay, the other side of the football, like, yeah, the Texans pass rush has the edge over the Patriots offensive line, although the Patriots offensive line is average. It's not bad. It's not like a detriment to the team. They have weaknesses on the left side with their 2 rookies, but Josh McDaniels knows that. Drake May knows that. They know pressure's coming. But the thing about Houston is we know they're always sending 4. They're never going to blitz. We know it's 4 every time. We can probably plan for that a little bit better. Also, New England, I think, who's better at throwing explosive passes than Drake May? Like, nobody. He's the best deep ball passer in the league, and the way that you can get the Texans is explosive plays. They're fairly average. For as good as they are defensively, they're fairly average against explosive plays. Josh McDaniels is a great screen guy. The Texans are 30th against screens. The Drake May can run. The Texans are 31st against scrambles. So between the ability to have balance on offense with their run and their pass, the Patriots, I think, will have better balance. Second, I think Drake May can be the better quarterback, the more explosive quarterback, and the quarterback that can run better against these defenses. Next, I think that Josh McDaniels is the more experienced coordinator who has faced some of the greatest defenses of all time, from Ray Lewis's Ravens, Troy Polamalu's Steelers, to the Seattle Seahawks of the Legion of Boom, the Denver Broncos, no-fly zone. He's faced them all, right? So he's going to have experience facing fast and dangerous defenses. Drake May's played this defense before. He played them last year, and he actually put up 3 touchdowns in that game. It was his first start of his career. So the Texans weren't quite as good last year as they are this year defensively, but it is something to look at where at least he's faced Hunter, he's faced Anderson, he's faced Stingley, he's seen this defense up close and personal. So he knows it. Diggs knows this team. Diggs was on this team. He knows the personnel. That's another thing. New England also has a lot of different ways to attack you with tight ends, with running backs, with a plethora of receivers. You can't really cover them all. And Drake May is just so good. And I think the discrepancy between the quarterbacks is ginormous. Drake May and CJ Stroud. Stroud, I think he's bad in the cold, and I think he's bad under pressure. And I think that's 2 things he's going to get in this game. Drake May, he's the MVP of the league. He can run, he can throw, he's explosive. He can manage the game, he's very accurate. He's a lot more consistent than CJ Stroud, who's fumbling the snap all the time. So yes, the Texans have a terrifying defense. They're very, very good. But I think the thing that tilts it over the edge for me is no Nico Collins, because it just allows the Patriots defense to totally go all in on stopping the run, go all in on the blitz, and really frustrate CJ Stroud and give him a lot of different looks because they're not scared of anyone in this receiving core, especially with Christian Gonzalez playing this game. So I like the under because I have too much respect for Houston to think that New England's going to put up like 27. I think they could score upwards of like close to 20 to 24 would be like the max, in my opinion, for New England. But I think all they'll need in this game is like 21. If New England can get 20 to 21, I think they'll cover the spread. Because I don't see CJ and the Texans being able to sustain offense enough, especially in the red zone, to being able to score like 20 points. Like, I think they could get to 17. I would be genuinely surprised that if the way that CJ's been playing, the weaknesses of this interior offensive line, if New England does not feast on that and does not force mistakes and does not win this game like 20 to 13. So I got the Patriots -3, although a 3-point spread in this type of low scoring game, I don't love. You know, it is a lot of points in like a game that could end 17 to 16. So I'd prefer to bet this game in a different way. But I think the favorite bet would be 40.5, which, by the way, guys, I'll be releasing my best bets for every game, total inside. But like, I think better would be go under, but I think New England's still -3. Like, I could easily see them winning by 6 or 7. Like, I could see like 20 to 14 very easily. So New England -3 is definitely going to be the lean there. And then the final game is the Los Angeles Rams and the Chicago Bears. Rams 48.5 total. They're -3.5 in the game. I lean over, and I do want to see how the weather develops, so I'm probably going to wait for like at least Saturday to see if I'm going to bet the over. I might even tease the over down, which is something I don't usually do, but that could be an interesting play. And then I actually think the Bears as a teaser is interesting, but the Rams, I think, are more likely to win this game. I'm kind of back and forth with the side because the weather has an impact. The Bears' home field, I think, is the most dynamic, perhaps in this round from a crowd perspective. I thought they were very, very good in that first round. And there's this thing about the Bears where they just constantly come back and they constantly make you pay for doubting them. And then they're kind of a miracle team with the Pope on their side. At the same time, you've got the Rams who are not playing that well. Like, I kind of feel like they've been underperforming to, you know, their expectation. Now, that being said, I just think Carolina does match up well with them. But I think the Rams win more often than not in this matchup just because, like, the Rams are going to have so many advantages on their offensive side of the football. Like, the ability to run the ball. The Rams are the #1 team in success rate this season running the football. Kevin Dotson, their right guard, is likely to return. That only helps them run the ball. The Bears are a bottom 5 run defense. The Bears against the pass, they're not a very good pass defense. They don't have a very good pass rush. I just don't see how they're able to cover Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams consistently, how they're able to stop the run while doing that, and how they're able to generate a pass rush. The only hope for me with the Bears is that they generate turnovers and that they generate some pressure with blitzes. I think their best hope is manning up, put Jalen Johnson on Devontae Adams, double team Puka, or like put Kyler Gordon and pray, and just see what happens. And then like blitz Stafford and trying to force a tip pass for an interception, a hurried throw like Carolina was doing essentially. But now that Dotson's back, that really helps them protect those blitzes, really helps them be a cohesive whole on the offensive line and maybe not be as leaky against those stunts, loops, and blitzers. And then I think it makes their run game more dynamic and dominant. Now Stafford has I think, incorrectly been bad in cold weather. I think early in his career, he was worse than he was currently. We saw him rip the Eagles defense up in the snow last year. It's going to be really cold, but I don't know if the cold is enough to really offset the fact that both these defenses stink. Like the Rams defense down the stretch, it went from the number 1 points allowed defense to like one of the worst in football. They can't cover anyone. Like Quentin Lake looks slow in his return, and that was their hope. Their pass rush, if you can block them, you can get after them. And the Bears have just about as good of an offensive line as there is in the league this year. I would make an argument they might be the best in the league right now. Like, they're really, really, really good. Like, they got 3 to 4 all-pros on that line. Joe Tooney, Darnell Wright, 2 of the best players at their position. Drew Dahlman, one of the best players at center. They're really good. And the Rams aren't just going to be able to bully them. And the Rams don't allow a lot of big plays because they play a lot of soft coverage. They kind of play like Seattle or they play like Philly, but they don't have the players in the secondaries to kind of help them with the front seven. And their run defense, while it's pretty good, they don't generate a lot of negatives. So I think Chicago's going to be able to matriculate the ball if they so choose by running it. I also think that Ben Johnson is going to clearly be able to look at some tape from San Francisco, from Seattle, from Carolina, look at some of these tapes and be like, okay, we can target the middle of the field here. Let's target these linebackers. Colson Loveland's going to get after it. These corners aren't very good. We're going to go after Emmanuel Forbes. Like, so for both sides of the offenses, I kind of feel like there's mismatches. I didn't even mention that the Bears are without TJ Edwards, which really hurts the middle of field coverage against Puka Nacua, for example, just in terms of their zones. Like, again, guys, I think the Bears need to blitz. I think they need to play more man. I think they need to be overly aggressive here. And they didn't really do that until the second half when they absolutely needed to generate stops against Green Bay. I wonder if they start that off this game doing that. I also don't love the Bears with 3.5 because they start every game slow. And I feel like if you start slow against the Rams, well, in the second half, they're just going to be able to run the ball and they're going to be able to get after you with their pass rush. Like, that's exactly where they want to be, right? Like, that's their two strengths right now is their ability to steamroll you up front and their ability to basically do that on both sides of the football. That being said, Chicago is kind of the cardiac kids. They've kind of proven that they can come back against anybody. The Rams are a much better team than the Packers, though, in my opinion. Better quarterback, better coach, better weapons, better offensive line, better run game, better defensive line, similar zone principles on the back end. But I do think that the Packers maybe have the better secondary, but it's tough for me to envision the Bears winning this game, but I could see how they cover this game. So I'm going to lean Rams on the spread at 3.5. If it gets to 4 or 4.5, I might be back on the Bears. I do like the over though, because as I mentioned, it's cold. I get it. It's cold. You know, Stafford's going to be in the scuba suit, just like Tom Brady. But the ability to run the ball for both these teams, I think will be there. The ability to use the play action off of that. The ability to screen the football against these defenses that are kind of not great at tackling and or kind of slow. The secondaries, I think, have disadvantages across the board. I just see too many offensive advantages between two of the best offensive coaches in football, between two of the most explosive quarterbacks in football. Even if they start slow, I feel like either offense could put up 20 plus in the second half alone. Like, that's just the way these two teams can cook. So I like the over 48.5 probably is my favorite play. We'll talk about it in the best bets. But then minus 3.5 for the Rams is going to be the lean on the spread ultimately. I just don't quite... Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe I have too much faith in the Rams. I haven't seen a lot of greatness from them lately, but I do think that their offense is just overwhelmingly better than the Bears defense, and I think it will catch up to Chicago in this game. Those are my picks, spread and total for the divisional round. If you enjoyed, spike the like button, and don't be a jabroni. Also, check out my Patreon for all of my bets. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.